episode of the Tip Tuesday podcast. So excited to have you on and very excited about this topic tonight. We'll be talking about personal brand. And you all know that I am the queen of clarity, clarity of purpose, strategic clarity. And so I'm very excited about this topic and to talk about what does personal branding have to do with purpose and clarity of purpose. So we'll get into that, but before we do me a favor. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and get notifications for when we're coming on. You'll get the notifications right to your phone, so you won't miss an episode of Tip Tuesday. And if what we're sharing with you tonight is valuable, if it's helpful to you, if you like the content, go ahead, like, share, and comment. We would love your support and for you to get this to as many people, leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs as possible. We want to help as many people as we can. So, okay, let's jump right into our topic. Personal brand. What is it? Sometimes when we hear the word branding, or even a lot of times when we hear the word branding, we can think of logos, business cards, graphic designs, websites, and all of that is included in an overall personal branding strategy. But that's not what I'm talking about tonight. Tonight, I want to talk about your specific personal brand. So what is it? What is a personal brand? Is it necessary? Is it important? What are you talking about here tonight, Tip Tuesday? And so your personal brand in its simplest form is you. A personal brand is comprised of two components, identity and perception. So what is a personal brand? It's your identity and it's others' perception of that identity. So everyone has a personal brand because everyone has an identity and everyone has a perception of that identity. So we want to dive into that on tonight. Personal brand, identity, and perception. So when we're talking about your personal brand and we're talking about the core of your identity, we're not talking about your business brand right now, even though your personal brand is what gives you credibility and trustworthiness for your business brand, but it's separate from your business brand. Think of your personal brand as your purpose brand or your life brand. That's what we like to call it over here at Tip Tuesday. It is the purpose brand. It is the life brand. It is the sounding board and the foundation for everything that you will build. It should be the foundation for every other venture that you will start. And so let's start with this. Identity. Sometimes leaders and entrepreneurs can find that there is a misalignment in their identity or what they believe to be their identity and others' perception of it. In fact, they're shocked when they find out that they feel that that their purpose is one thing or that they're standing for one thing or that they're operating in one thing, but they're actually being perceived a different way. And when this misalignment happens, because there's a few things that are out of alignment. And we're going to get back to that. What's out of alignment when your identity and the perception of your identity don't line up? I want to answer this second question that we asked. We said, what is personal branding? And I said, it's your purpose brand, your life brand. It's comprised of your identity and the perception of others of your identity. But then I said, we asked, is it important? Is it necessary? And over here at Tip Tuesday, we absolutely, positively believe that your personal brand is important and is necessary. Your personal brand is your message. It's the message that you're giving to the world about what you stand for, what you do, how you think, and what your values are. And you may think, why is that important? Why does anyone or everyone need to know that about me? Well, one is important, let's just say from a personal standpoint, because you want to represent yourself in this world in the most authentic way possible. And for you to do that, you must first be able to know and be aware of what your identity actually is. And then two, are you representing that identity in the way that you want it to be represented? So sometimes people can only see what we put out there. And so if we're saying that this is who we are and this is our identity, but we're representing something else, people have no other choice but to have the perception of what you're putting out there rather than what you're thinking that you are. So personal branding with identity and perception. And is it important? Yes. Secondly, for business, your personal brand precedes you, or your personal brand is what shows up in your business brand. So if anyone is going to buy into your vision, buy into your business brand, buy into your product, they have to first buy into you. You ever saw how someone can have a good service, they can have a good product, they can be very knowledgeable, and as we always say, they can have technical skills, but they can't quite get anyone to buy into the vision that they have. And when I see this, I see a lot of times it's not that they don't have a good vision, and it's not that they don't have a great purpose, but the alignment of the vision and the purpose is off in the perception. And so I told you earlier, we were going to talk about what happens or what's out of alignment when there's a misalignment in identity and in perception. And I'm going to tell you 3 things that I believe you need, one, to have a great or a strong personal brand, and 3 things that I think are out of alignment when you don't. So one, the foundation of a great personal brand or reputation or personal or purpose brand is clarity of purpose. This is, what are you doing and why are you doing it? And these questions, I'm not asking for you to think of something where you can tell people. These questions are for you. What is your purpose? What is it and why? Clarity of purpose. Right there, this is where most leaders will miss the ball. We'll go and we'll try to get marketing strategies, and we'll try to create all these platforms, and we'll try to get all of these followers. I'm telling you, nothing is wrong with all of that. You have to have a marketing strategy, but that is way down the line. There's no sense of having that if you yourself, before you communicate with any other soul in this earth, you have to be able to answer the question, what are you doing and why are you doing it? That is your clarity of purpose. Secondly, we have clarity of strategy. This deals with who do you serve and how do you serve them? Yes, who do you serve and how do you serve them? And I know that it's easy to think you want to serve everybody. You're here for anybody and you're here for everybody. That's not it. And you can widen your net as you solidify and establish yourself in the foundations and in the core of your purpose. But you have to know, at least starting out, who are you ordained? Who are you designated to serve? And how are you going to serve them? What are going to be the methods for you to serve them? And so with those 2 things, clarity of purpose, clarity of strategy, it will give you a solid foundation in your identity. And so how do we deal with the perception? Then if I have a solid foundation of, I know exactly what I'm doing, and why I'm doing it, and who I'm serving, and why I'm serving them, then where does the perception come in at? So we have our identity down pat, but our message may not be clear. When you have your identity down pat and you really feel like you know who you are, you know who you're here to serve, but there is a misalignment. And how do you know there's a misalignment in your identity and your perception? Leadership impact. It's the impact, the influence, and the buy-in you're able to get for your brand, you're able to get for your vision, and you're able to get in your leadership. Impact weakens when the message is not clear. So what makes a message not clear? If there is misalignment in any of these three components that I'm about to tell you about, then the message you give probably won't quite line up or won't be clear. And that is your thinking, your words, and your actions. If any of these components are out of alignment with the other components, there's going to be some ambiguity in your message, or at the very most, it'll be very confusing or even seem deceitful. And so we've all had that encounter where, you got those people who do a lot of talking. It's talk, 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 talk. And these are the ones who, with their words, are trying to prove to you who they are. But it's something about their spirit that just isn't lining up with what they're saying. And that's because your thinking is reflected through your spirit's posture. So you can say whatever you want out of your mouth, but you can't fake spirit. And even if you can't fake it for long. So your thinking is reflected in your spirit's posture. And so sometimes people can be saying a lot of words, and there are a lot of good words, and it may sound like a good message on the surface, but it's something that just don't add up. It's something that's not clicking with your heart. And that's because the way that person actually thinks is different from what they're saying. Or you have a person who they think a certain way, they speak a certain way, and those two things line up, but their actions do not line up with their words or with their thinking. So you always hear them saying one thing and it seems like they really mean it, but you never see them actually following through with what they say or with what they're thinking. Whenever that happens, your message, your personal brand, your reputation is diluted. It's watered down, or it's not as effective as it could be. Same thing. You could be doing one thing, but thinking another thing. And that is the heart and the handwork. We talked about that in another show, is not lining up. So when I say thinking, your words and your actions, again, we're talking about your head knowledge, your heart knowledge, and your hand knowledge. So are these three things in alignment? If they're not, people are going to sense it a mile away. Authenticity is key to have impact in our personal brand and in any area of life where we have to show up. If you can think to yourself, oh, I really think like this, I really feel like this, but I'll act like this in front of these people. Or I act like this on social media, or I talk like this in front of these people, and nobody will really know what I'm thinking. No, what you're thinking eventually shows up, because it shows up through your spirit, and it eventually shows up through your actions. It's only so long the message without substance can be supported. So we can put any message out there that we want to, but the weight of your message comes from when you're thinking and your words and your actions all come into alignment. That's what gives you your it factor. That's what makes you powerful. That's what I say this all the time because we've all experienced. Let's just take a leader or boss or supervisor. They can say all the right things that seems like they're all about team camaraderie, or about the business flourishing, or about the team being well taken care of, or the employees being well taken care of. But you'll soon find out, as you follow that leader throughout the course of your employment, what they really are about. And you will find that leader's impact is either very influential, or people just do the bare minimum of what they have to do just to get by, because somewhere that supervisor or that leader's words, actions, and thinking are not lining up. And if it's not lining up in your personal life, it's hard to go to work and then fake like you can line all three of those things up. If those three things are not lining up in our personal brand, it's hard to be a leader, show up as a leader, and try to make those three components show up. This is who we have to be in our everyday lives. And this is why our personal brand only gets its authenticity from who we really are. Not something you want to make up, not something you want people to think about you, because it's only so long you can stand with it. It's not going to be consistent, or it's not going to be strong. And here at Tip Tuesday, we advocate for high impact leadership, for influential leadership, for buy-in to your vision. And in order for that to happen, we need clarity of purpose, we need clarity of strategy, and we need the message to be clear. Those three things. And so I put out a post today. I don't know if you got a chance to see it or not. And it's the 9 pillars of success that we use over here at Tip Tuesday. It's not even that we use it. This is what we believe. It's how we think, it's how we speak, and it's how we act. And so because we personally believe this, this is what shows up in Tip Tuesday or in the other businesses that I have, and even the consultants and the producers who work on the show and the businesses that they have. And so we're going to talk about some of those pillars for the next couple of weeks, how you can show up, how you can begin to develop and build and manage your personal brand. I'm telling you, it is important. Your personal brand is what people are talking about when you're not in the room. Your personal brand is what's in the room when you're not in the room. It's what people are saying when you're not in their presence, right? It's how you consistently show up and how others perceive you when you show up. It is the impact of your presence. And so working with executive leaders, I tell them executive presence is so important. It's the it factor. It's the invisible essence of you. It's not something that you learn in a book in college or grad school or anything like that. That's not where it comes from. That's where you learn your technical skills from. Your invisible essence comes from your identity and people's perception of that. You know what's another name for those things? Character and reputation. And so we have to work with the core of who we are, the foundation of who we are, and then let that permeate over into our leadership positions, our entrepreneurial roles, and our executive roles. And sometimes as leaders, we don't want to sit down and do the work because clarity is simple, but is it easy? No. And so this is the process sometimes we want to skip over because we feel like I got a good business product, I got a good vision, I got natural leadership skills, and we do. But there's no sense of doing all that work if it's not going to have impact. And you know, personally, Tiffany A. Hale believes in the impact first starts with you personally. People can sense and feel your spirit posture, and that's the way you're thinking. This is why we should always work on what we're thinking, always work on removing blind spots, correcting misconceptions or misinformation so that what we're thinking is slowly permeating through every area of our lives and then into our business. I am super excited about this. I'm telling you, I love working with people in order for them to gain clarity of purpose because I know that they have the best chance of winning and being impactful if they build and work on the foundation first. Yes, this is a foundational message, but if the house is not built on a solid foundation, when the storms come, when no support comes, when whatever comes your way comes, you're going to have a solid foundation. You're going to know that you're showing up in the best way possible because you're showing up as your authentic self in the most authentic way that you can do, and no one can show up as you but you. And I put this on social media the other day. We need you to show up every time because there's no one like you. Go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know, how do you show up? What is something that you've recognized about your identity or others' perception of your identity that has helped you to grow in your leadership skills, that has helped you to show up, even if it's just as a better friend, a better employee, a better mom, a better dad, because these things are foundational. You know, you're not going to be weak in these areas personally and then show up great at work. It doesn't, I mean, even if you can be great at one area in business and at work, who you are shows up with you. And so this is why I love just dealing with the purpose of a person, the spirit of a person, the heart of a person, the mind of a person, because whether you know it or not, that's what people see. The invisible part of you is what people see the most. And I just want to go ahead and deal with this more. We're going to talk about clarity of purpose more. We're going to talk about authenticity. And I'm going to tell you some steps you can take and some questions you need to ask yourself so you can get clarity in these areas. I mean, I gave you some tonight. Like I said, clarity of purpose. You need to know exactly what are you doing and why are you doing it. Strategic clarity. Who am I serving and why am I serving them? Your message becomes so much clearer when you know who you're talking to and why you're talking to them. And then lastly, your message clarity. When you're thinking, your words and your actions all line up. The head knowledge, the heart knowledge, the hand knowledge. Well, I enjoyed tonight's episode. We will be talking about this more and more. I really feel a press and a push in my spirit to just really deal with leaders and entrepreneurs and visionaries in this area, showing up, knowing, being aware of who you are, showing up as who you are, and putting action to who you are. We want you to be blessed. We want you to continue to follow us, share the podcast. We want to get as many leaders and visionaries and people who are looking to step out into business and efforts and community leaders. We want to get them all in here so we can have this discussion. I would love, drop in the comments. Let me hear some of your tips. Let me hear some of your pillars. I would love to interact and engage with you and maybe even bring it up on the next show. Okay, thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time on the Tip Tuesday podcast. Peace and blessings.